We've talked before about this issue of women playing against people who were born men, transgender women, and the safety issues there. It's an obvious issue. just want to show you've been talking about this in Parliament. Here's a little clip of what you had to say in the Senate about this last week.
So if you say you're not comfortable playing women's contact sports against biological males, you're at risk of breaching your league's inclusion policy and being suspended or even banned. So many women have contacted me with concerns about this issue, but they are worried if they speak publicly or even internally, they might face consequences at their club or at their place of work.
Well, there you are, Claire. That makes a lot of sense. I just could get you to expand on that a little bit, because we can all see there will be safety issues. We've raised them before. We've all seen some of the athletes that have played in women's competitions and how they can be a lot bigger and stronger. But it's this fear of speaking up about it that worries me. You're saying that women in sport are really worried, I suppose, about cancelled, to use a popular term. They're being cancelled if they actually dare to raise their concerns.
Absolutely, Chris. Both men and women that have contacted me across the country and across the world about this issue are certainly concerned that they can't speak out about their beliefs. They all agree with me, of course, but they feel that they can't speak out for fear of retribution by their friends, their place of work, that, you know, they will be cancelled, so to speak. And I mean, it's very easy for me as a senator with a platform to be able to go into the chamber as I do and speak about these issues. And I have been called transphobic by some opposition senators this week. But I think that that sets a terrible example for the people that agree with me, that they feel that they can't vocalise their views on this issue because they'll be labelled as transphobic too. It sets an absolutely shocking example, both in terms of what this issue stands for and, of course, free speech more broadly.
Yeah, look, we all understand the sensitivities. Nobody wants to humiliate or discriminate against transgender people, but there's very real and obvious practical issues here. We've seen it played out when it comes to the Olympics and Olympic trials, when it comes to records and eligibility, let alone the safety concerns of perhaps girls playing against someone who's biologically male in contact sports. I mean, surely we can have a sensible discussion about those safety issues without the abuse and silencing and fear of being labelled transphobic.
Of course, and I think that these views that we are talking about, Chris, are common sense views that are shared by the vast majority of all Australians. I think most Australians recognise that women's sport exists for women to compete in and men's sport exists for men to compete in. But you see this this whole concept of fairness and safety being thrown away in favour of clubs and sporting organisations being seen to be inclusive. It's incredibly worrying.
Well, you mentioned you've been criticised in the Senate. Let's have a look at one of your opponents calling you out or criticising you, unfairly criticising you, I would have said. This is Nita Green in the Senate, a Labor senator.
Senator Chandler has made at least 2 speeches in the Senate since the COVID-19 crisis began on these issues, trying to veil her transphobic views as faux feminist values.
Are you transphobic, Senator?
I certainly don't think I am transphobic, Chris. I think I'm just speaking out on behalf of the majority of Australians who think that women's sport should be for biological women and they shouldn't be forced to play against trans women who are biologically male. But like I said, I'm happy to go into the chamber and say what I say and have my views scrutinised by those on the other side. But what I'm deeply concerned about is the standard that this sets for the Australian women that don't have a platform to defend their views. I mean, how many Australian women must be looking at that footage and thinking whether or not Anthony Albanese agrees with them?
No, there's no doubt. I think that what you're saying, the vast majority of Australians would nod their head in agreement, but in the sort of media political class, few people will say these things as directly.